the VoiceOver screen. If you have a vision impairment, this is the screen you need to get familiar with so that you can start to access your iPad in a different way. So when I tap the VoiceOver button from the accessibility screen, it goes into what's called the VoiceOver screen. And the first option that's here is VoiceOver on. So this is where I can turn VoiceOver on or off. So if you haven't set your triple click home button to VoiceOver, if you click this off, it may be difficult for you to get it back on without having to connect it to a computer or to ask somebody with vision to help you. So that's what the first option here is.
VoiceOver speaks items on the screen.
And now it's going to tell me what VoiceOver does. So there's a couple of little pieces of information that are really actually very helpful.
To select an item, touch it. To activate the selected item, double tap. To scroll, flick 3 fingers. VoiceOver practice button.
The VoiceOver practice button opens a screen where I can practice different hand gestures, and VoiceOver will just announce the function that is enabled. So if I double tap with 2 fingers, VoiceOver will announce that that's the play or pause hand gesture for media. And we're going to be exploring the practice screen in a later video.
Speak hints on.
Speak hints on. Hints are little instructions that VoiceOver will announce. So when you touch a certain icon or you touch a button, it'll say accessibility, and then it'll say double tap to open. That double tap to open is the hint. So it's a little instruction that follows the identifying announcement. There's an announcement made to identify what you've touched, and then there's a hint that tells you this is what you can do here. You can double tap, you can scroll. We want this turned on, especially in the beginning when we're getting to know how to use VoiceOver. This particular feature helps us use VoiceOver in a more effective way because we're always getting additional instructions. As you become used to how VoiceOver operates, you can turn this off so that you don't have to listen for those additional instructions anymore.
Speaking rate heading.
The next heading is speaking rate. This allows me to adjust how fast VoiceOver speaks. Let's look at what we're currently set to.
Speaking rate 30%. Adjustable. Swipe up or down to adjust the value.
I'm at 30% right now, so I can go up higher.
40%, 50%, 60%, 70%, 80%, 90%, 100%.
That's 100%. I don't know if I would ever want to use my iPad at that rate. I like 30 because it kind of sounds human. It doesn't sound too slow. It doesn't sound too fast. It's understandable. So I like to leave it at 30, but it goes up to 100%, obviously down to 0%, which I'll show you right now.
90, 80%, 70%, 60, 50, 40, 30%, 20%, 10%, 0%.
There's also some visuals that those of us using VoiceOver don't necessarily always get. On the screen, when we're down to 0%,
0%.
A little tortoise appears on the screen, so it's going super slow. And then as we move towards 100%, or when we get to 100%,
80%, 90%, 100%.
There's a rabbit or a hare, so it's like the tortoise and the hare, which is kind of cute. So I'm going to move it back down to 30% so that we can listen to it. Our next feature is
typing feedback button.
Typing feedback button. This tells VoiceOver what to announce when you're typing. So do you want it to read out each letter as you're typing? Do you want it to read out the word after you're done typing it and press the space bar? Or do you want it to read both? So you can have VoiceOver reading the letters as you're typing, and then when you press the space bar, it'll read the last word that you typed. Or you can have it read none of that. So it's up to you. You can customize it to work however you like. I have it set to characters and words because that's how I prefer to use my iPad. I find that the feedback allows me to move a lot faster.
Use phonetics on. Double tap to toggle setting.
Use phonetics. It's using phonetics and different types of phonetic standards when speaking. Obviously, there are some times when it will mispronounce certain words. So the word R-E-A-D may be pronounced read or read, and it may be mispronounced depending on how it's inserted in a particular piece of text. So this allows that option to be altered.
Use pitch change on.
Okay, use pitch.
Double tap to toggle.
Use pitch change allows the user to customize how VoiceOver lets you know that there's a capital letter. So capital letters and lowercase letters have different sounds. You'll hear a higher pitch when it's a capital letter, lower pitch when it's a lowercase letter. So that way you can distinguish it rather than having VoiceOver say capital H or capital B. So this is a way of customizing that.
Braille button.
The Braille setting allows me to connect the iPad to a Braille device, which we'll do in a later video. And in addition to having the voice output, VoiceOver can have Braille output. So you can actually mute the voice and just have Braille output and do your reading or do the work that you want to do in privacy. Nobody will be looking at your Braille display trying to figure out what the letters are. Or you can do something quietly as opposed to having VoiceOver announcing things, which could be a little cumbersome, especially when you're in a meeting or a classroom.
Rotor button.
Okay, the next two options are Rotor
Language Rotor
and Language Rotor. The rotor allows us to change on the fly what a single flick of a finger up or down does. If I have the rotor set to characters, if I flick my finger down, it'll move through a word or through a piece of text character by character. And if I flick my finger up, it'll move backwards through a piece of text character by character. The rotor allows me to change those settings. And here I can add or remove things from the rotor. So if I want to put, for example, speech rate, if I wanted to be able to change my speech rate whenever I wanted to, I might want to include that on the rotor. So this is where I can go to add items to the rotor and then to remove stuff that I don't want to use. And that can be removed by going to this feature. Language rotors. Language rotor operates the same way except just specifically with languages. So for those of us who are bilingual, we might want to add a second language. The iPad has a lot of speech capabilities in other languages. I'm a Greek speaker, so I include Greek in my rotor, so sometimes I can practice my Greek. One thing to note, don't change it to a language you don't understand, because then you won't know what a particular control means. And that could get really difficult to get it back to English without having to connect it to a computer.
Navigate images. Always button.
Navigate images is the next one. It controls how VoiceOver interacts with images on the web. So we have it set here to do it always.
Speak notifications in lock screen. Off.
Speak notifications in lock screen. That means when your screen is locked and you get a text message, do you want VoiceOver to read that text message aloud? I usually have this set to off. If my screen is locked, it's probable that I don't want to hear what my notification says until I want to hear it. So I can control it. The other way, if you're in a meeting and your device is locked and somebody sends you a personal message, it could be a little embarrassing. So you want to be careful about how this is set. And that's the last part of the VoiceOver screen.